Hello and welcome to Allianz Park. It's North versus South today as the London Borough of Barnet plays host to a clash between the Premiership and the Super 15. And don't go thinking this is some mid-season jolly. The Beast and his mates are on display today. That means big names, big hits, big excitement. Saracens top of the Aviva Premiership and into the quarter-finals of the Heineken Cup roll out some familiar names for today's encounter, despite facing the Newcastle Falcons tomorrow in the LV Cup. There's a strong South African connection here, and Mark McCall's men will want to impress as they feign the sternest of tests against the Super 15 giants, the Sharks. This is a long way to come for a pre-season workout, but with the Super 15 starting in 3 weeks' time, Jake White brings a side boasting 8 Springboks for his first game in charge of the boys from Durban. Springbok Rugby may be flaunting a more fluent style of play at present, but they love the physical approach more than any other nation, and with the current South African front row on display today, no one should doubt the importance placed on today's clash. It's Saracens against the Sharks, live from Allianz Park in just under half an hour.
Welcome back to England. It's a long way to come for a friendly.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but I think it's far from a friendly. It's always when there's rugby at stake, and a lot of these boys have played international rugby. They know there's I suppose a lot of reputations at stake as well. And as much as we don't want to make sure that we go over the top, the reality is it's still a rugby game. You still got to get up for it.
How long have you had to make your mark on the team, on the setup at the Sharks?
One of the things that obviously I enjoyed a lot was in the pre-season, a lot of the Springboks were away, so it gave me a chance to work with the next generation of players. Ideally what would have been nice is that if I had the Springboks there for longer periods of time, but as you'd all know, in internationals, in the autumn internationals, and then they have their month break. So I've been basically working since October. A lot of these young guys are now getting their first opportunity playing for the Sharks today, and I think that's probably the most exciting thing about today's fixtures, is to see how they've developed in that space of time.
Lots of familiar faces in your team, particularly in the front row.
Yep.
How close is this to the starting 15 that you've got in mind for the Bulls in 3 weeks' time?
Look, to be fair, probably about 65% of this team will start against the Bulls. I've got guys like Francois staying, not yet. Pat Lambie got married the other day, so he's on honeymoon. If I look at Ryan Kankowski's playing in Japan, JP Peterson's still got to finish his stint in Japan. So there are probably about 5 or 6 guys that will still come into to the mix. But one of the things that I know, Nick, is that you're not going to win the competition, with the same 15 every single Saturday. So one of the things we're going to try and do is get, some guys to get opportunities, and games like this are fantastic for them because they get to play with some Springboks and they get to play against some international players for Saracens. So I'm hoping that they can put their hands up today.
Put some names to those fresher faces that we're looking forward to seeing today.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the names that are new, Tim Sweel at 10, as a young guy, is basically he's still actually under 21s. The inside centre, a guy called Andre Esthuizen's 19 years old. He's also, as I said, eligible for under 21s. And the fullback, Tyler Fisher. So three backline players still eligible to play in the under 21 side in South Africa, which is obviously good for us. And then Terra Matembu, who's a number 8, who's starting today as a number 8. He's been around for a long time. When I say long time in the academy setups in South Africa, and he gets an opportunity to get a full crack today. So, I suppose those 4 guys for me would be the guys to watch.
We're looking forward to it, Jake. Go well.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you, Nick.
Mark, where does this match fit into your plans? What are you hoping to get from it?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because they're 2 teams in different sort of ends of their season. We've had a really demanding 9 weeks, but it's nice to play a game like this, which is out of the ordinary. It's a unique game. In some respects, there's no pressure to win the match, although we've got a very competitive group of individuals in there who want to do really well today. So there's been an excitement about this week, and obviously we've got a game tomorrow as well. So it's been a real buzz around the club in the last 4 or 5 days.
And that fascinating North v South aspect to it as well. How do you think you would get on if you played in the Super 15?
I suppose maybe after today you might know a little bit. Obviously we're missing our international players today. We're missing our Saracens players today. So we've maybe 10 or 11 people not involved. So we'll see. I think we've got a really good team. We've got a good squad. The Sharks are pretty star-studded today, especially in their pack of forwards. But it's just a game to get excited about. I'm not really going to try and compare leagues, but it's a game we're looking forward to today.
What I would like you to try to compare, though, is the different approach to coaching in the North and the South. Do you think you have to go about it differently depending on which hemisphere you're living in, which one you're working in?
Well, that's a very good question, actually. I think that referee interpretations come into things. It's actually even interesting for us from the Aviva Premiership to European Rugby, and European Rugby is refereed not entirely differently, but a lot differently than our matches, and there's a really big attacking preference in most of the Premiership referees. I think that's the same in the Super 15 actually, but not quite the same in Europe. There's a lot much more of a contest there, so it's getting used to those things, but I don't think coaching is that much different, to be honest.
We're looking forward to it. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Here temperatures are nudging towards the 80s in Durban this afternoon. Apparently there's a bit of rain beside the Indian Ocean, however, 1 or 2 showers. So while we can't match the South African heat today, it is dry. Conditions are pretty good. I dare say those watching back home in South Africa will see plenty of familiar names in Saracens starting 15. Amongst the half dozen, born significantly closer to East London than North London, is Neil de Kock, who'll form the halfback hinge with Charlie Hodgson. But for the presence of his opposite number today, Schalk Brits may well have won more Springbok caps. He and Justin Melk in the back row have both played for the Stormers in their time. And Matt Stevens was born in Durban but opted to wear the white of England, and his scrap with Tendai and Tarawera promises to be a cracker. The Beasts, part of a formidable test match front row that Jake White has at his disposal this season. There are 8 Springboks in all amongst the starters. Bismarck du Plessis amongst them, and the hooker's skippering the Sharks this season. He's alongside brother Yanni. In the back row, you'd expect a charging, snorting Willem Alberts to love this surface, and that will equally apply to the likes of Odwa Undungani and Waziam Vovo on the wings. In the absence of the recently married Pat Lambie and the injured Frans Steen, much will rest on the form of the promising but inexperienced Tim Swiel and Andre Esterhazen at 10 and 12.
Well, the battle between Tarawera and Stevens will be key at the scrum, but for me, the big battle, the 2 Springbok hookers, Brits against du Plessis. Brits almost redesigned the hooker play in this country with his attacking flair, and du Plessis the opposite. Ex-set tackler. Dan Carter felt the benefit of that, and as we said before, really good over the ball.
Mike Blair, you've got your eye on the 10s early on.
Yeah, I've got Tim Swiel and Charlie Hodgson, both at kind of opposite ends of their career age-wise. Hodgson, a lot of experience. He really runs the game for the Saracens. He's their key guy, whereas Swiel, you know, beginning of his career, his first game, having moved from Western Province last year, he'll have a real point to prove, but he's got some great players around him to help him out.
Yeah, it is going to be fascinating. Familiar faces on the pitch, familiar faces off it. John Smith ended his playing days here last season in North London. He's now the chief executive at Kings Park, pulling the strings. Springbok World Cup winner, talking to Richard Wigglesworth, who's on the bench. And there's Ed Griffiths. Remember being South Africa's press officer in 1995. That great couple of months back home for him. He's now very much the man in charge of Saracens here. And into the Sharks' cave, or wherever Sharks live. Not entirely sure. Sharks' hutch. Anyway, it's great to see them here. They've got a new kit on today. It's a grey one. More familiar Saracen shirts. Discipline, honesty, humility and winning has been a word that's been part of their lexicon so far this season. The Currie Cup winners against the Premiership leaders, led out by Bismarck du Plessis. One of Jake White's first calls is to give him the captaincy ahead of Keegan Daniel. Daniel amongst those injured back home, waiting for the new Super 15 season. So Bismarck du Plessis, an early opportunity to lead out the Sharks, build up in full swing now, the new season 3 weeks away. They're starting to gather momentum here in North London for the first time in their pre-season. The hits that they're taking and giving will be for real. Tendai and Tarawera taking time to chat to plenty of South Africans who came to watch them train here yesterday. Great personality, bubbly personality. Everyone having their picture taken with the big men. And here's another. This one's made of solid English oak. Steve Borthwick. Unhappy memories of leading his country out against the Springboks. I dare say he's not thought much about 2008 this week, but the record books will tell him that it was a record hammering at Twickenham that day when he played the men in bottle green. Today it's his club searching full swing to find the replacement for him next season. But halfway through this domestic season, a little fascinating detour for the Aviva Premiership's league leaders, the pace setters, against some of the very best that the Southern Hemisphere has to offer.
Just get the impression, genuine excitement by these guys, and you want to test yourself in different environments against different teams. Just think that Saracens really need a big start. We know the Sharks will do that. Saracens will think if they can match that early on, their superior match fitness from playing so many times this season already might start to tell against a pre-season outfit.
Saracens in such good form as well. That journey that they've just made from the home dressing room that they've been making for a year now, a year since they moved into this new stadium. Only once have they headed back on the return journey, a beaten side. That was against Northampton in the Premiership playoffs in May. They are pretty formidable here. They were beaten in the home match against Toulouse in the Heineken Cup, but they chose to play that one at Wembley. Premiership's Tim Wigglesworth has the whistle today. Matthew Carley and Gareth Coxey are the touch judges. We're not bothering with a TMO today. We'll use good old-fashioned eyesight and common sense instead. That will hurry things along a little bit. And the man who will get us underway, Sharks, having won the toss, chosen to get things started, Tim Sweel. Fascinating to see how young Sweel goes today. His first match in a Shark shirt. Lovely mix of experience, hardened Springbok Test experience, and plenty of young players looking to make a point today.
He's got some big decisions to make in terms of balance of play, using that big runner up the middle early on.
And that big runner is Andre Esterhazen, who really is a brute, imposing teenager, still waiting for his chance in Super Rugby, but we've seen what he can do up the middle early on, and this is the skipper, Bismarck du Plessis, taken on by Cobus Reinhardt, the scrum half. This is Pieter-Steph du Toit, Springbok debut against Wales, you might remember, in November. Second cap wasn't far behind. Paris a fortnight later. And an early penalty for the visitors. We were talking about how Tim Wigglesworth will look after the breakdown. He whistles first in favour of the Sharks.
Jack Berger fuming. He thought he'd done everything he could to get away, but just look how quickly this ball comes out at the breakdown. It leaves short, trying to cover 5 players on that break, on that blind side. That automatically puts Saracens on the back foot.
A very typical.
Berger tries to roll.
Sorry, a very typical start by the South African side. They're using the forwards, going same way, getting over the gain line, making an easy start for Tim Sweel at 10, giving him some front football and earning the penalty.
Can see Jacques Berger back, Namibian, playing again for the first time in 6 weeks. He's had surgery to clean out that right knee. He warmed up for this one by joining us in the studio on Wednesday. However, his first indiscretion leading to the earliest of opportunities for Tim Sweel to swallow a bit of a nerve settler. And the Sharks lead 3-0.
That penalty, like you were saying beforehand, that Tim Wigglesworth gives, he tends to back the attacking side and he wants players to roll away.
He does. He wants a flowing game, and he wants those players rolling away. He wants the ball moved away from the breakdown and, you know, prevent him from making that big decisions in that area.
Taken in by du Toit. Yanni du Plessis driving over the top to create some space for Reinhardt. Sharks' first choice scrum half at the start of last season. He lost his place to Charles McLeod midway through it. McLeod's on the bench and under plenty of pressure. Undengani did as much as he could, which wasn't a great deal.
Yeah, brilliant from de Kock. Look at the speed of de Kock. Puts the pressure on the 10, so he has to offload to the winger, and Strettle's backing him up as well.
Tim, how many's in?
4. Just a little example there for Tim Sweel. Saracens really like to put the line speed in.
Du Toit the option at the line out. And then hammered forward by the giant, Willem Alberts. Oh, again the charge down, this time from Berger. Wonderful ball, de Kock taken on by Barrington. Once again, the speed of Sharks' clearance tested. And this time, They are on full alert defensively. Hodgson tries to wiggle his way through. He was held up by Jordan, who then hunts down the loose ball, and Sharks have picked it up.
Yeah, it's the attention to the little things. It's the hunt from the Saracens players there to get onto him. It's something that Wayne Smith with the Chiefs and All Blacks talked about. It's getting these little things right and putting pressure on 9 and 10. It's been really hard for them to get out of their own 22.
What really impressed me though by the Sharks is, as soon as the turnover was made, really quick to reorganise their defensive line either side of the breakdown, which meant they could put pressure on both sides. The line speed was good. They very nearly got the turnover and they cancelled out the threat.
First time the two hemispheres have come together at a scrum. Tawawera eyeing up Matt Stevens. What a contest that's going to be today. And it's immediately Matt Stevens who goes crowd surfing.
They can both do with having a longer line.
His 53rd Test cap in Paris in November. Oz Durant's successor. He's been around that long. What a job he has done in the bot front row.
So powerful. You saw him trying to, despite the reduced length of the hit with the bind, still trying to get that power hit in early on. Stevens coming back at him this time.
They won't be used to this, the South Africans with all these different resets and stuff, won't they? You know, they, along with the New Zealand and Australian teams, they like to get the ball away from there and use that as a platform. And, you know, Saracens will be used to resetting these 3 or 4 times, so they'll be happy.
And we've talked in the Premiership as well, Ben, watching Saracens, about the plastic pitch, the artificial surface, and what that does to you as a scrummager.
So it just means there's no give on your studs at all, so you can get a really powerful hit in there. And you know that your feet aren't going to give way at all. The key thing, though, today for Saracens, they wouldn't mind too many scrums, because scrummaging is one of those things that you just can't practice in the gym in pre-season.
Well, they go down again on this near side, and Wigglesworth decides it's Matt Stevens' fault. Durban boy went on to win 44 caps for his adopted country, but his feet were wandering back, we heard Wigglesworth say.
He's got to make a decision on it, hasn't he? The referee's been told that, you know, to get away from the scrum. If you have 3, 4 resets, get away from it. And, you know, so the penalty had to come, and you know, he chose the Sharks to get it this time.
Bismarck du Plessis. Line out called in Afrikaans. Not quite the advantage it usually is in London. Half the Saracens team speak Afrikaans. Entirely sure that was what was intended, but it found du Plessis, and the clearance up to the Saracens' 10-metre line. Picked up in midfield. Ferocious, muscular hits at that breakdown on the gain line. It's what Gary Gold was talking about. Schalk Brits tries to go beyond it.
Britt's doing really well just to spin in the tackle, get himself that extra couple of leg plants and the leg drive.
Watch the guards, back foot, Gray encroaching, mate.
The penalty's given for back foot.
Very clever what the Saracens do there. You know, those when Sharks have got a defensive line out, they drop Schalk Brits back into the pocket, so he's the receiver of the kick, and he'll give you the front foot ball to work off.
Thank you.
Springbok ambitions rather thwarted by his opposite number today, on the last of his 5 caps at Twickenham 14 months ago, having been recalled to the squad. His first throw is a successful one to Moritz Botha, the South African who took English Test caps, taken on by Marcelo Bosch, the Argentinian, new arrival this season. Stevens, de Kock. This is Joubert, reacquainting himself with the Sharks, having played against them for the Lions. Skipper Borthwick was driven back there, and there's ball that needs to be won here for the Londoners, and it is won by Barrington. Nako Vunipola with the England squad this weekend. Barrington get a rare run out. Once again, it's Joubert. Billy Vunipola, another of those with Stuart Lancaster's Six Nations squad. on the last of his 10 South African caps in the World Cup quarter-final against New Zealand way back in 2003. That match in Melbourne when South Africa never really got going. East Hazen at 2. Ball was meant in the end though for Jean Deysel, and acrobatically kept in play by Brits. Allows Short to run onto it with some menace. Never really found the hole. I'm entirely sure there was one there. This is the fullback, Tyler Fisher, new face at fullback. Comes with a big reputation. We've been joined from the Southern Kings at the end of the Super 15 season. And Tarawera needs no introduction. The crowd will do it for us. Here goes Deysel again. Familiar face in the back row, the Sharks back row for many a season now. Short gets away with it. And he's rather backing himself into a cul-de-sac. Gets beyond the 22.
He did well enough to stay on his feet, allow his support to get back with him.
Here goes Wiles. Kenny du Plessis leading the defence. Hodgson decides boot to ball is the best option. Fisher skipping across and finds Sweel. Wiles was well positioned. Undungani. He goes high. Scrum half Reinhardt chasing it, and he chased it all the way into touch as de Kock was trying to keep his eye on it. That was a steepler from Odwa Undungani.
Yeah, de Kock just suggesting he might have been taken in the air. Did well to get the hang time. Great kick from Undungawi.
I know it's there. It's only after a line out.
His feet still off the ground. It's not much of a tackle.
No
Corbus right out.
Okay. Use the line, guys.
Similarly, he's got Charles McLeod for company on the bench today.
Fellas, steady.
New half-back partner in Tim Sweel, however. This is the first time they'd have played together. More used to having Pat Lambie outside him. Butch James a couple of times last season. The Bathman retiring at the end of the last campaign. Joubert winning the line out. It's been an uncomfortable 30 seconds for de Kock. And they'll come back for the knock-on.
You can see they're trying to ease Sweel into the game, can't you? He's only touched the ball 2 or 3 times so far. The forwards have taken the responsibility off him. Scrum half Reinach doing exactly the same thing, but sometimes it's easier for him to get his hands on the ball more. You know, he'll be a bit desperate to do something now, and you know, I'd recommend just get the ball in his hands, make him feel comfortable at this level, I'd say.
He comes with big raps. Plenty of people expecting big things of this young man. He was actually born in Taunton. He's still eligible to play for England, should that be his desire. He's making his life in South Africa these days.
It's gone up, guys. It hasn't gone anywhere else. Same ball. It hasn't moved off the mark. It's both sides have come up.
Sharks, one of...
That's a good scrum from Saracens.
Yeah, thank you.
Quite a long wait for the ball to be put in once the hooker had struck. Saracens timed their shove well. Both sides spinning. I think Wigglesworth got that decision right. Wasn't really going anywhere.
Brits and du Plessis head-to-head. Barrington and Brits and Stevens against Tarawera, du Plessis and du Plessis. Two brothers who pop up.
Same again, both sides.
The Sharks were a little bit fortunate there not to have the turnover for twisting the scrum round 90. The ball was at the base of the scrum for a while.
Battle on this near side is between Tarawera and Stevens. James Johnston's playing in the LV Cup match against Newcastle tomorrow for Saracens. And there he is, under his Christmas bobble hat.
No effort.
Well, Wigglesworth had come round this side bend to have a look. Just a little bit of a question about the binding of Yanni du Plessis from the touch judge Matthew Carley before that scrum.
Body shape there. Barrington staying straight. Du Plessis ended up facing in towards his hooker. Probably made the decision easier for Tim Wigglesworth.
The doctor on his 50th cap against Australia in September. He then missed the autumn tour up here with hand and shoulder injuries, so he'll be glad to be back on his feet.
This is an area Saracens really like to attack from. Always do something different from a 5-metre line out. Be it a shift drive. Just staying straight this time. The referee deciding that, I think it was Steve Borthwick, was it, or Bota had gone across the line. Make a block in front of the catching pod.
Really disappointing outcome there. Charlie Hodgson being really brave with the penalty kick, giving his forwards 5 metres from the line. So often you'll end up 15-20 metres for the line with that kick. Hodgson really brave, put in a great position, and that's kind of a soft way to let the Sharks out of that.
Thank you.
Borthwick had got done. You saw him lift in the air, and then just as he dropped his jumper, he just stepped across the line back with his back facing the opposition, just to give that buffer.
So there was a little bit of a breeze blowing across the pitch. It'll be blowing in the face of Bismarck du Plessis as he picked out Detroit. And this is big Esterhazen. Really is an imposing teenager. France Staines injured at the moment. Maya Bosman has joined Stade Francais, so Esterhazen gets his chance here. Saracens thought they had their chance, but they've been pulled back.
Put your hands down! Put your hands down and walk away. Let me go and talk. Thank you very much. 9, step away. Thank you, yeah, we'll sort it out first.
We're going to have a little official conflab here between Wigglesworth and Matthew Carley.
Saracens 7 is taking the player to ground by his neck.
Yep.
Okay, and then the reaction is by 3 Gray by putting his hand on the player's face and pinning him to the ground.
Okay, so what we're doing, penalty against Saracens reversed?
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on, 7 and 3.
Jacques Berger and Yanni du Plessis.
I'll talk first, all right? Guys, thank you. First offence, you're around the neck, okay? Second one, you retaliate. Penalty against you, reversed against you. Thank you. What do I do? Bubba. Where am I going? Yeah.
Interesting question from du Plessis, isn't it? What am I meant to do if someone's doing that to me?
Great fend. Esterhazen though, isn't it? Good carry, bumps another one off. And it's Berger who makes the initial tackle round the neck. And that's after, I think it was while they were on the floor. That's what Berger's taken offence to, that du Plessis came in and held his head to the ground.
Charlie Hodgson, Owen Farrell off with England this weekend, kicking responsibilities on the shoulders of the veteran. Well, he might be the Premiership's record point scorer of all time, but he's having a lean old time of it with the boot this season. He missed, as we can see there, the majority of his kicks against Connacht in the Heineken Cup last Saturday. And it's not started well here in front of the posts. Sharks remain ahead, courtesy of the early penalty from Sweel. This is Wiles. Alex Good. Again, one of those with England this weekend.
First one forward.
Ball forward off Michael Tanguy Thackingbout. Fijian, who rejoined from Bristol this season.
So it would have been your penalty.
Yeah, Hodgson's stats aren't great in front of the post here, but you've got to remember he's playing every second game here at Saracens, and this is a tough wind to kick with. You look and the flags don't look like they're moving much, but it's a real bustling wind. I watched Hodgson before the game kicking from exactly the same place. One hit straight through the middle, didn't move. Second one, it hit the same place, and it drifted off to the right. So it's a tough old wind.
Crouch. What are we doing here? Hey, listen, fellas, let's go up here. There's the march set left. It's very easy. Crouch! Bind! Set!
Just a hint, more than a hint there, that Saracens had the nudge on before the ball was put in, and the shove earns them the penalty.
It's the point I was making before. It's the hardest thing to get game ready for when you come across a team that's been scrummaging all season. In your first couple of games, firstly the technique, but also the physical toll scrummaging takes on your body, you just can't replicate.
A quarter of the way through the match, that is a source of concern for Jake White. Forwards coach Paul Anthony won't be far away either. They'll be poring over the videos, trying to see what's going on dynamically within that. At the moment, they're just being out-muscled.
Yeah.
Charlie Hodgson with a very early opportunity to right the previous wrong.
Correct. Incredible.
Judge that one. It's a decade now since he scored 27 points against Jake White's South Africa at Twickenham. He's just scored his first 3 points against Jake White Sharks in North London. Taken in by Melk. Cape Tonian, former Western Province flanker.
Yes, all right.
See Tembu calling covering defence across. He felt there was a hole there that might have been exploited, but Saracens instead blasting it up the short side and drawing another penalty. Once again, it's Yanni du Plessis who gets back to his feet rather ruefully.
Yeah, the Sharks just need to pull each other together and don't want to let the discipline get away. It's obviously different interpretations than they'll be used to down in South Africa, but they've got to get used to it quickly. Good footwork from Brits. Just offsets du Plessis.
Again, it's Botha taking the line out. 100% record so far for both teams. Halfway through the first half, 3 penalties apiece, and de Kock gets the ball away under some pressure. This is Undungani. It's gone straight out.
Be careful there. Thank you.
Let's have another look at this. Desmond du Plessis just making sure that Neil de Kock knew that he was on the pitch.
It's the little things that Saracens are doing again that's so important. We talked about the charge downs early on and the kick chase there. It wasn't a spot-on kick from Neil de Kock, but the chase really made it and put the pressure on Ndungane, and here's the start of play just outside the 22.
Melkin at scrum half for this line out. Which would have told the Sharks it was probably going to be driven. They tried to sack it early.
Penalty going against Etienne Oosthuizen, 21-year-old newcomer from the Brumbies who worked with Jake White.
Referees in the Premiership really hot on players being taken in the air and the arms coming around the jumper while he's still up off the ground. You see a few turned up palms from the Sharks players, not 100% sure why that was given.
7 penalties, and a fair proportion of those in recent times. Third quick kick in pretty short succession that Charlie Hodgson's lined up. This for the lead. He's got the read of the Greens now. He played the win perfectly. And Saracens and Charlie Hodgson lead by 6 points to 3. 22 minutes gone. Ball goes long. It's cleared away by the scrum half. We can have a word with Jake White. We've been talking in the last couple of minutes, Jake, about the number of penalties your boys are conceding at the moment. Is that a concern?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think you've just summed it up. We've gotten 7 penalties away in 22 minutes. To give that amount of possession away, obviously put yourselves under pressure. So, yeah, I mean, we're just obviously going to have to try and halve that penalty count.
Is that the referee's interpretation, or are you on the wrong side of the law at the moment?
Look, it's difficult to say. I mean, the bottom of the line is we haven't played rugby for a long, long time. Probably a bit rusty. Hopefully we'll get back into the game.
What about the scrums?
There's another penalty now coming, so maybe it's, we've got to accept that it's part of the game. There we go. There we go. Play, boys. Play, play, play.
We'll come back to you in a minute, Jake. Let's just watch the end of this. Now the ball was lost forward by Paul Jordan. That was better, Jake. A word about the scrums as well. A sense that Saracens have got a little bit of a nudge going on at the moment. Yeah,
look, I mean, the Saracens scrum is really strong, and we know that. It's been one of their strengths of their team as well. And obviously, as I said, we haven't played for a while, but I'm sure we'll get it right. We've got experience in our front row there, and I'm sure they'll talk it through and get it right.
Really appreciate the chance to chat to you mid-match, Jake. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. Pleasure. Cheers.
Well, it's such an impressive setup of that last maul from the Sharks. Just look at the body height of the grey shirts when they get set up. It's scrum position, ball nice and secure at the back. Now they've got the march on. Very little that the Saracens, who are all stood up, could do about that. Give away the penalty, coming around the side, and then as they break out, the concern for Saracens will be, look how many red and black shirts get tied in, and there's a big overlap coming around the outside. Unfortunately for the Sharks, they couldn't exploit it.
However, it has led to this opportunity to square things up for Tim Sweel. And this time it is the youngster who gets caught up in the breeze that's blowing cross pitch. He's the top point scorer in South Africa's under-21 championship last season, down in Cape Town. The ball going beyond the recipients that the Sharks had been lining up. It was taken by Strettle, who took a knock for his pains, but it's Saracens' ball.
That's a freebie for Saracens at the moment. Advantage being played for contact in the air.
Taken by the fullback Fisher, and we will come back for the penalty on Strettle. It might have been Undangani who was underneath his opposite winger when the ball came down.
Yeah, totally accidental. He didn't even know Strettle was there, otherwise he would have been taking off in a jump himself to win the ball.
Just on the 5, thanks.
It's a ball that I'm not sure either of them were expecting. Peter Steph du Toit was being thrown up in the air by his lifters to get that right. It's another monster kick from Charlie Hodgson, and actually Undangani has come off second best in that tussle with Strettle, but the kicking of Charlie Hodgson at the moment, Mike Blair.
Again, really brave. The coaches will be delighted he's doing that, but it's one of those ones, the coaches will tell you before the game, really go for that 5-metre line, but then the time you miss it and it goes for a 22, you get shouted at and told, what are you doing? But great coaching for that one, though.
Again, Melkert, scrum half, so he can slot straight in on the ball.
Ball that was won by Botha. Sculpbrits locking the whole thing up.
Just needs some support on his right shoulder. Stevens provides it now. They're in good shape. They need to get underneath Duplessis there. Now they transfer it to the back. Berger in good shape if they can keep this march on. There's collapse there.
Well, there was almost nothing the Sharks could do there. It was Oosthuizen who pulled it down. And there was an inexorable sense that if he hadn't have done it, would have been a try, and this may well be a yellow card. It's a decision to be made here by Tim Wigglesworth, you would suspect. It's one of those, Mike, that you can only assume that if he hadn't have done that, Saracens would have rumbled over for the score.
Yeah, so why is it not given as a penalty try? Oh, well, it was.
Yeah, and they've scored the try anyway. Taken quickly.
He's on the mark. I haven't stopped.
And it's been scored by Strettle. While poor old Oosthuizen was making his way to the sidelines, Charlie Hodgson wasn't hanging around, and Streppel gets the first try of the match.
Probably just reward, wasn't it? I mean, it should have been a penalty try or a try from the rolling ball. So, you know, if Charlie slots this from the touchline, then they'll be happy with the 7 points. No harm done.
Well, the Sharks will be fuming. Medics on the field treating. They thought the clock was off. But I suppose once the dust settles on this fixture, they'll take that as a valuable lesson going into the Super Rugby. Never, ever switch off.
This will be some kick from Hodgson against the breeze. That is a monster. I know in terms of pure meterage, it's not going to break any records. But against the stiff breeze, in the face of the breeze, this one crept over. Landed pin high, Mike. Ball won by Borthwick in the air. It's been a good 5 minutes for Saracens.
The referee's assistance in again for foul play. I think for taking out the lifter.
Step away.
While Borthwick was up in the air receiving the kick, I think his rear lifter was taken out. Let's have a listen.
Matt.
Number 5, Gray, has tackled the supporter whilst he's lifting the player.
Okay, what we're saying, yellow card?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, goodness me.
2,
in the space of 60 seconds, the Sharks are losing both of their locks.
Don't need you, thank you. In the air, and this is the third time your man has tackled not the ball carrier but the support player. Foul play.
And for the next 8 minutes, the Sharks are down to 13, and furthermore, their 2 tallest blokes are both sitting with their feet up.
Well, they will have wanted to test the Sharks, not in this capacity. Really important now that their senior leaders get them together. They don't let the frustrations get the better of them. They won't agree with those 2 decisions, but they can't let it affect them. They're done now. They've got to move on with the next stage of the game.
And this time it's Matt Stevens wandering in front of Steve Borthwick and providing an illegal block.
There's an opportunity for the Sharks to get some field position now. Play the ball in 30 metres out from try and hold on to the ball. You know, this first 30 minutes so far, they've had no time on the ball in the Saracens half.
The issue they've got now is rearranging that line out with 2 of their key jumpers off the field. They'll obviously cut the numbers. Looks like a 4-man line out they're going in with. Here's the incident.
Can you move Saracen?
Well, that's unfortunate. He didn't know where the lifters
initially
were.
He's going for the ball, isn't he? And it's just his momentum that takes him into the lifter. That's a harsh call.
They did well to win back that ball, and then Swiel with very nifty footwork evading the onrushing traffic. The low loader that is Willem Alberts. This is Daysel, one of Jake White's vice captains this season, and he rates very highly. Bismarck Duplessis. Bow took the tackle.
Yeah, you talk about your leaders stepping up. He's turned over the ball though.
And de Kock. This is Swiel. First turnover of the match, and Swiel just happy to concede a little bit of territory. De Kock to Brits. 4th gear. Never got 5th gear. Hodgson took that well, invites Streppel to chase onto it, and Undengani, rather Mvovo, had absolutely nowhere to go in the end.
Still alive.
Hodgson just beginning to pull the strings.
How would you defend this, Ben? Would you put any of the Sharks' backs into the defending wall? Or?
No, definitely not.
Because backs are rubbish.
Obviously, I wouldn't put any of the players out. Well, you just invite Saracens to break off, particularly because the backs probably won't know when to peel out of the maul and get back into the defensive positions around it. So you might tighten up slightly, but it's the work initially now. As the ball's taken, they've got to stop it at source. Saracens try the shift drive.
They did well. Sharks, Saracens have the ball on the ground, so they're going to have to reset it with Barrington. Tembu doing his best to disrupt things. This is both that. De Kock, Brits, with help from Berger. Duplessis doing some digging, and he was within his rights to have a dig away.
Brilliant by Duplessis.
Well, how well have they handled that situation, Ben?
The initial work at the line-out drive Abbott has taken to cancel the threat, and then as the players came around the corner, Duplessis spotted the Saracens man popping through on his side of the breakdown, latched onto the ball, won the penalty.
I think going back to that line out there, I think what I do is I do a 5-man line out. So it means the Sharks have got to have the same amount of numbers, and then you've got 2 extra ball carriers in the back row. I think you're giving the Sharks a chance to get away things by slowing things down and having that driving more.
The Shark scrum. Ball was deflected off a Saracens' hand.
Schubert, one of the best line-out operators in the Premiership. Really good defensively at the front of the line-out. Putting good pressure on there. Don't quite get the result they wanted, Saracens. Attacking scrum Sharks. But what are they going to do with numbers here to ensure they get the ball?
And even with a full 8, they've been under a lot of pressure at this point. They've just got to get away. It's a balsa wood boat being splintered at the moment. Any kind of possession will be deemed a success, and it is there for a success. Picked up by Alberts, who, the momentum he found from a standing start, going beyond a couple of Saracens tacklers. They're using the heavy muscle, and Tarawera. And then Daisel. This is spirited stuff from the Sharks, down to 13 men. Here goes Loisian Vovo. Scoring tries for the Springboks at Twickenham not so long ago, on the other side of the River Thames. He's fully behind this Sharks effort right now. 13 against 15 defenders. Once again, it's Alberts taking it on. Sharks' first visit to the 22, and this is Corbus Reinach. Melk had a little look at it and was told to head backwards. Now it's Joubert and Bosch who are told to give way. Remains South African ball. Alberts, how quickly were Sharks defenders upon him. Oh, and then it's Botha who goes in hard on Tembu. Duplessis. Wheel standing back, a scrap for the ball on the floor, and it's won by Saracens.
Well, brilliant initial play from the Sharks, but that is just the difference when you've got 2 extra players. Players can overcommit on those big runners around the breakdown and make those big hits, safe in the knowledge they're not going to leave a hole and be exploited. Really good initial bust from Daisel. Offloads, outstanding, the timing of that. We're off playing again.
This time it's Paul Jordan. That ball's been spilt forward. Botha can't hold it. De Kock can. That was an interesting concession of possession, but we're going to have a break in play because there's a player down injured. And it's a head injury, and that's the reason for the concern.
The reaction from the crowd is amazing, wasn't it? I think we've got more South Africans here than Saracens support. There's noisy.
It's Charlie Hodgson who's hurt. In the meantime, Tyler Fisher has a bit of work to his right shoulder. He's impressed Jake White since arriving from the Southern Kings, Tyler Fisher. More familiar faces at fullback last season. Louis Ludic's gone to France. Rian Villiers earning a little bit of money in Japan. So Jake White happy to give Fisher the shirt today. So where are we on the yellow cards? We're not too far away from seeing the return of Etienne Oosthuizen. He's got another couple of minutes stretching to do. And de Toy was sent off about 90 seconds later.
In the middle, please. Thank you. That's the mark, yeah. You know what you're doing. Crouch! Bind! Set!
Sharks with their 6-man scrum. Saracens showing them no mercy.
Well, they'll just go for the penalty here, won't they? Drive until the Sharks don't manage to control that base. Line up doing really well. Scampering in on Ducott.
Ball was there to play. Nothing, they stayed down.
Let's talk about how difficult that is to hold that scrum up when you're being shoved back with just 6 players in it. Actually not to have taken it down and conceded the penalty in that situation was some effort.
Yeah, Matauera was very defensive. Looked to be really struggling to keep his hips in without having his wing forward on him.
Bind! Set!
See that initial steps going backwards. Got himself into a good position against Stevens after the hit.
It's probably 50-50.
Sharks will be really happy with the fact there's a scrum here, because this will eat into the clock a good 2 or 3 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw both guys back on by the time these scrums are finished with.
Etienne Oosthuizen's switching on the ignition again. Peter Steph Toy won't be far behind him.
Bind!
3 minutes to half-time. Only try of the match so far, scored by David Strettle. To Cock, Hodgson, Tangi Thakin-Bao. Seen too much of Saracens with the ball in hand so far. That was very neatly done by the Cock in extremis. Here's Berger running into Bismarck du Plessis. Stevens driven backwards by Daisel.
He's on his feet. He has rolled. Thanks, mate. Send him on.
Well, what a test of pre-season fitness this is for Sharks, and they have seen off one of the yellow cards, although they did concede the try right at the start of it as Oosthuizen was making his way off 10 minutes ago. Strettle struck.
I think they'll be delighted with that result. Only the try, which was conceded straight after the yellow card against them. Maintain good field position. And they're going to waste a bit more time by having a shot at goal from their own 10-metre line.
The stiffest of crosswinds is not going to help this effort from Paul Jordan, but you can't fault him for ambition from all of 54 metres. Even with the wind, there'll be some effort. By the time this, you assume, drifts away, and they'll be back to a full complement.
Yeah, send him on.
And here is Toy again. Ridiculously hard worker whenever he's on the pitch. He's had a 10-minute breather. He'll be working even harder now in his mate's cause. Those youngsters who somehow has got to try and dislodge Evan Etzebeth from the Springbok second row over the next couple of years, but one of those bright young things who's coming through, and Oosthuizen and Toy reunited. And Tuawera rolling it up to halfway. Oh, and it's been intercepted, and Hodgson has got the skates just to score Saracens' second try before half-time. Well, that's a sickener for the Sharks. Worked so hard during the 10 minutes when they were down to 13, back up to 15. They gift-wrapped the try.
Saracens had a really short defensive line. Hodgson, the last man. If it had gone wider, they could have been in trouble, but he read it to perfection. Just saw it coming and accelerates onto the ball. And then those aged legs just have enough gas in them to get him all the way to the line.
It's clever defence, as you say, numbers down. Charlie Hodgson takes the line up. If they want to play it to the edges, he has to put a big loopy pass all the way over the top. By the time he's done that, the inside defence have helped him out. Very intelligent defence from Charlie Hodgson there.
The long pass from Tim Sweel, cottoned onto by Hodgson, who adds the extras. Couple of Saracens tries, David Strettle and latterly Charlie Hodgson. Couple of Sharks yellows for the 2 second rows at half-time. Saracens 20, Sharks 3.
Well, we've got the man of the moment, Charlie, quick word with you. Slow start, but my goodness me, you've hit the accelerator now.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be tough against these guys. They're a physical bunch, and they're getting over the game line a lot of occasions, so it's hard for us, but we've managed to settle into the game, and thankfully we're up at half-time, so see where we go.
How tricky was it to get a foothold in this game?
It was tough, yeah. I mean, as I say, first 5-10 minutes, the game out of the box, and it was hard to stop it once they get Duplessis on the move and Albert's on the move. It's tough to stop them, so we're obviously happy with where we are now, and hopefully we can continue it in the second half.
You've been a busy boy.
Trying. Things like that, lucky really. I think you just try and spot your moment and see what happens and get off the line and get an opportunity to score. It's quite nice.
Great stuff. Thanks for talking to you again in that changing room. So it's been a busy half for Charlie Hodgson. An excellent first half for Saracens. They lead the Sharks 20 points to 3.
Yes, I know that showers were forecast beside the Indian Ocean in Durban this afternoon, and it's got noticeably darker here during half-time in North London as well. I suspect it's not too far away before we're hit by the showers as well. Sharks have made a change at half-time. New fullback Jaco Fantonda is on. He's replaced Tyler Fisher. I'm not entirely sure whether that's tactical or whether Fisher's picked up a knock or a strain or something. But Fantonda, the utility back, we assume will just cover at 15. And Sarahs have made a change as well. Neil de Kock, scrum half's being replaced by Richard Wigglesworth. Fortunate not to be part of England's setup, I suspect, heading into the Six Nations. Young, Kerr, Dixon, but he's at the top of his game at the moment, and he's got another 40 minutes to show us just how well he's playing, Richard Wigglesworth. Interesting, that relationship between Duplessis and du Toit. The amount of time, Ben, during their training session here yesterday, that they were practicing that, the grips and going for the balls, the hours of work that we don't normally see.
Yeah, particularly at this stage of their pre-season, it's all about trying to get those relationships right, so it becomes second nature. You don't have to think about it on the field.
It's good work from Loisium Vovo, ricocheting off a couple of hefty-ish tackles to roll the ball up towards the 22. Bismarck, Duplessis, the skipper, having to go down low to rescue a ball that looked like it was dying on him. Cleared away off the left boot of Andre Esterhazen, who's impressed us in midfield so far today. Staines injured. Maya Bosman's playing his rugby in the top 14 these days.
He's been outstanding, hasn't he? His ability to fend and bust that first tackle, tie in extra defenders, create opportunities on the outside at the next breakdown.
Real issues at the line out with that breeze, and Brits and the throw were all over the place, and it's Hodgson who has to shuttle back, being chased down by Corvus Reinhardt. Sharks scrum half.
Let it come, let it come.
Saracens' new 9, Wigglesworth pointing at it, calling for it, getting it. This is short. 12 months on from scoring Saracens' first ever try here against Cardiff. He's been recalled from his loan to Wasps this weekend to help out.
Ball was there.
Pace from the Sharks scrum half. Number, by the way, who'll play their part in the Sharks Super 15 season, not in London this weekend. Pat Lambie's on honeymoon. France then were saying not fully fit. Back rows Marcel Coetzee and last season's captain Keegan Daniel injured as well. All of them left at home. JP Peterson and Ryan Kankowski both earning a bob or two in Japan at the moment. So while it's a decent enough Sharks team, it's certainly not a full-strength one, not perhaps the one that we will see run out at Kings Park against the Bulls at the start of the Super 15 tournament in 3 weeks' time.
Big line out now for the Sharks. We've seen their ability to set the mauls up. This is the penalty. Joubert sneaking around the side. He said he thought the ball was already out. His referee's assistant on that far side, helping the man in the middle out. But now if they can set really good body positions. Stevens goes down, drags it with him.
Borthwick was up quickly and aggressively, and it's Yanni du Plessis who can try and profit from this latest spell in possession. Toy himself an international now, a Springbok, something Tawawira has been able to do for a while. Reinach, and this is Desa, abrasive flanker.
He's been good in the first half, Desa as well.
Steamroller with the ball going forward. Reinach with a little bit of momentum. They've not had much of this in the match so far, and then the ball was lost forward, but for one or two brief moments they were really beginning to threaten.
That'll be the Sharks' route back into the game. This sort of carry from Albert.
Knock on first.
Using that hip strength to burst through the tackle, bounce the low tackle out. Just can't hold on to the ball as it hits that artificial surface.
If I was Reinach, I'd be looking for Dazel every time. Every time he's taken the ball, he's made yards, he's committed defenders. So he should have him in his mind. Dazel, where is he?
And he's won a handful of Springbok caps, helping out with these meters made statistics as much as Alberts and Bismarck du Plessis.
Your side, mate.
Going for a ton of work at the moment. That's Dazel.
Yeah, I agree.
Embarking on his 7th season as a Shark.
Just looking at the two Wigglesworths there, scrum half and referee trying to decide when it was time to put the ball in. The yes 9 call's gone. There was a lot of nodding and shaking of heads between them.
There was a wink, I think, wasn't there?
Sharks early. How are you going to approach that as a scrum half, Mike? Are you going to have a chat with the referee before the match, work out what the signal is? What's the deal?
Yeah, I think I understand that the ref's the one that kind of says to you, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my thumbs up, I'm going to nod my head, and you just work with him on that.
Sharks with that half charge down. It was Oosthuizen who made sure that the ball was theirs as it spilt loose. Reinach. Swiel. Esterhuizen, he was looking for Jordan. Rare opportunities for the backs to work in synchronicity so far during the match. 5 minutes into the second half. Hodgson was up quickly with the tackle. Esterhuizen back to sort things out for the Sharks. Got the kind of tanned legs that suggests he's not spent a great deal of time in North London over the last couple of months. Likely the beach back home in Durban. Reinach to find some space behind Strettle, but Strettle had covered it well, and this is Chris Wiles, the American fullback, stretching his legs for the first time. Fullback for the day the USA conceded 64 points against the Boks in a World Cup in Montpellier back in 2007, but he made some decent ground there, and what he put in was capitalised on by Marcelo Bosch.
I'd like to see the Sharks using their standoff a bit more, using him, because remember there's a warm-up game. You want to see what you can do. You want to play him into. I understand why the 9's taking the pressure off him, why he's using the forward so much. But this is a learning process, and it'll give him confidence to get hands on the ball, give him some kicking responsibility and running of the game.
Really, a match goes by where Jacques Berger isn't in the wars. That's a blood bin replacement. And this is Takashi Kikutani. First time we've seen him in a Saracen shirt. Only 3 players have won more test caps for Japan than this man. He's won 66 down the years, and Kikutani is on as a temporary blood bin replacement for Berger.
We had Jacques Berger in on Wednesday night talking through different types of tackle technique. We asked him to show us the face tackle. He didn't do it on Wednesday. He's just done one now.
Backwards.
Toy continuing to do good work in the line-out. Picked up again by the impressive Daysel. Shuffled towards that touchline. It's a little bit tight.
Come on.
Reinhardt goes over the top.
Straight out, mate, straight out.
And he's
On me, on
overcooked it. That was a fascinating little demonstration that Jacques Berger gave in the studio about the split-second decision that you have to make as the bloke's running towards you as to where you're going to put the hit in for the tackle.
Yeah, basically whether you can make an offensive hit and you can really put everything behind it, or whether you have to taper some of that enthusiasm, just make sure you bring the guy to the ground.
Taken by both Wigglesworth, Bosch, continuing to scored a nice try against South Africa in the Rugby Championship down in Mendoza. And Tembu working hard to wrestle the ball back, but it's Hodgson's to play with. It's the dark clouds above Allianz Park that crept across at half-time and crept away. Botha, born in a small mining town in northern Natal. That ball's been given away and taken forward by Oosthuizen. There's a fun fight on the floor at the moment. The ball's there to be won by someone, and it's Wigglesworth who gets it back. Ball retention, not a quality for either side at the moment, Mike.
Yeah, the Sharks starting to look like they've got that pre-season feel about them, don't they? There's the first time they've taken a tackle, look for the offload in probably, what, six to 8 weeks, and you can see that. But, you know, Saracens don't have as much of an excuse. You know, part of their game is the conservation of the ball and breaking teams down, and we're not quite seeing that at the moment.
It's Mvovo, by the way, who took the big hit.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he did it. He almost seemed to fall at the feet. This is the penalty coming up. Latched onto the ball, let's go. Next man comes in on the ball, but just loses his body weight. Again, it's one of those where you, as the defensive player, you probably think you're entitled to attack the ball. Mvovo almost seemed to fall at both his feet. And whether he got a kick, the big man went past.
So we're talking about the last time they played competitively, the Currie Cup final, which they won back in October. It's really only been this week that they've started to up the intensity levels in training, so this very much a step up that they knew was coming very early on in their preparations for the new Super 15 season. And
It's obviously just been stakes and weights for the last 3 months.
Slips, doesn't he, and just catches Bota's foot on his head as he goes past. Tries to plant the feet.
He lost his place in South African Test squad ahead of the World Cup in 2011 to Undan Ghani. He's on the other side of the pitch today. Heimer Williams warming up just in case. Jake White back home, having won that World Cup against England and Ben and Co in Paris in 2007. Looking to add to the Sharks' illustrious history. Jake White, famous names woven into the history of this team, although strictly speaking the Sharks only formed 15 years ago out of the old Natal, a team that had been resuscitated somewhat by great Ian McIntosh during his days at Kings Park in the 90s. Reel off the names: Ben John Smith, Stransky, Joubert, Ollie LaRue, all played their part in recent years. Those with longer memories like you might recall Tommy Bedford in the 1960s. Play against him?
No, I didn't, funnily enough.
This is really some concern for Mvovo. Let's just hope they're being ultra cautious, as they always are when it comes to potential neck injuries. Sharks, one of the 5 teams who will be representing South Africa against the best from New Zealand and Australia over the next few months. Bulls, Cheetahs, Stormers, Kings and the Sharks. And it is Heimar Williams who's on, 22-year-old who played his part in the Currie Cup success at the back end of last year. He's got an early opportunity to make an impression in Super 15. Ever fancied the idea of going down there, going south, Mike?
For the weather, that would be nice. Unfortunately, probably the stage of my career I'm at now, it might not be happening.
Another change. This is Jacques Bortas, battle-ravaged warrior. He's been around for about a decade now. He's coming on, and it's Willem Alberts who's giving way. Part of that formidable Springbok back row. Dwayne Vermeulen at 8, Francois Lowe on the other side. Alberts, he's had a decent run out. He starts to set himself up for the new Super 15 season.
I've had a few experience of these head knock type situations, and the reason it takes so long is the first thing they've got to check out is the neck. You know, make sure that the neck's fine. Once you do that, then you move on to your head, because they can't afford to move him. If he's had any damage to his neck at all, you need to stop any movement in that area and deal with that situation. That's why kind of the first 5 minutes or so, they're just making sure there's no complications there. Then they'll deal with the head situation.
Well, while Toluwazi and Mvovo gets continued treatment here, let's talk about the wider context of this match. And I know that Jake White's been intimating as much, and certainly Gary Gold, who's working with us up here in London on BT Sport this afternoon, has talked a lot about it. But the potential for more of these fixtures between clubs in the Northern Hemisphere and South Africa, and the advantages that both might gain from it, Ben.
I think it's a real positive. I'm not necessarily advocating that we form some sort of league or anything, but having teams come up, particularly if the LV Cup is going to be used more for teams to develop their younger players. And we have a big window at the moment with the 2 European games and then 2 weeks of LV, and there are opportunities to bring teams in. We've seen it with Leicester playing against South Africa and Australia, and Gloucester have tried it as well with international sides, but actually it's probably more beneficial to bring some of the provincial teams and play at that sort of level.
I think the other thing is money, rules a lot of these decisions, doesn't it? And you look out here today, and it's fairly full to capacity. So there's a desire from the spectators to watch these kind of games. So on that side of things, it's something that be keen to do as well.
It's probably what we lost from the professional era. We used to see touring sides come up, and there's an air of excitement about. And I think it's great that once a year we get to see teams that you'd probably think that when the game went professional, we'll never see up here again.
Well, there were hundreds of Shark fans here for yesterday evening's training session, getting the opportunity to see their heroes again that they've only in recent times have perhaps seen on television on this side of the world. I know actually Saracens were very keen to make this day even bigger. They wanted to have a double header at Twickenham and maybe bring up the Bulls, perhaps, who they have a close relationship with, and get another Premiership team involved and have 2 matches at Twickenham today. But they struggle to find much support from any of the other 11 Premiership teams who fancied doing this, or perhaps even had the resources at this stage of the season to do it.
The South African consortium that owns Saracens will have to buy another club then, and they can do it that way.
This is a lengthy delay if you are just joining us. It's for Wazi and Vovo, the Sharks left wing, or the Cell C Sharks, as the marketeers would like us to call them. That's who they're sponsored by these days. And Vovo, who took a hefty hit, slipping as he went into tackle on Moritz Botha, is finally strapped up, and that's good to see. He raises his right arm to tell us that he's all right. He goes off with everybody's best wishes, and he's been replaced by Heimar Williams, and we're up and running again.
Just wonder, as the Sharks players, that might benefit them more. Obviously gives their lungs a chance to recover, and now they can almost split the game into 2. We'll split this half into 2. their second wind. They've got to stop this drive at source.
Brits attacking Saracens line-up. No one got off the floor. It surprised Corbus Reinach as much as anyone, but sharp scrum half scuttled round quickest. Taken on by De Toy. And Oosthuizen in 10-minute breathers in the bin during the first half. All the way by Tim Sweel. Opportunity to get their line out lines absolutely right. Another flop, and last time that was hurled in against the breeze to find Schubert. Britt shouting the odds from the crow's nest. Wigglesworth takes it. Melk was there, but he was the dummy runner. Hodgson instead. This is Tangi Thakinbau. A while since he started in midfield. Been a while since he started anywhere, but he's on from the off and still on today. Wigglesworth, Hodgson, Bosch doing what he does well, straightens things up, goes beyond the first defender. Not Dasel, however. Going a little bit tight. Short provided the link. Barrington goes to ground, and then Matt Stevens will be absolutely livid. Jordan. Omar Williams, the replacement, who's just come on, who was tackled in the end by Stevens. And that's a hefty and very, very impressive clearance from Esterhuizen, who continues to impress.
And Short's mistake has meant it'll be the Sharks who get the put into the line out.
Oh, there's some kick. Line out won by De Toy. It's been the perfect line out so far for Bismarck du Plessis. 11 out of 11. Oh, and then Botha comes in and absolutely castles Dasel. Just flying around at the moment. Ball picked up by Mtembu. Reinach slipped beyond the tackle of two players. Up to halfway. Scrum halves there again. Sweel, half through the gap. Tipped up by Kikatani, Japanese test player. Penalties coming.
Second man in 6.
Penalty going against Justin Melk.
What a hit from Botha though in midfield, but I can guarantee Dasel won't be overly happy with Reinach as scrum half. Just delays, holds onto the ball and just tells Botha it's going to this man, it's going to this man. He can get him man and ball.
Send him on there.
I think Reinach's just caught between doing two different things at 9. He's not passing the ball straight from the deck and giving his runners time on the ball, and he's not running an aggressive enough line on the ball to commit any of the defenders. So, you know, as Ben said, he's just laying up Dasel for the big hit there.
Jack Berg would have enjoyed that hit. He's back on. Blood reversal. Kikatani's taking his place back on the bench, and that is Berger hammering away to try and free himself.
Advantage 3 side entry.
And the penalty's gone against Matt Stevens, who was offside.
Advantage. Penalty advantage.
Second half that remains scoreless, but it is the Sharks who are doing most of the pressing at the moment. Here goes De Toy, continuing to work hard. Oosthuizen goes down. Oh, there's a little flash of yellow coming here. And it goes against Matt Stevens. And now it's Saracens' turn to man the lifeboats a bloke down.
About to see a raft of replacements from the Sharks, as you'd expect pre-season. They're going for the touchline.
They're preparing to bring on Kyle Cooper, the hooker, Dale Chadwick, the prop.
1, 2, 3, 5,
Steph Levis,
9.
who's a second row. Charles McLeod, the scrum half.
1, 2, 3.
They're also bringing on Lara and Adrianza, so they're changing their entire front row, Ben.
Yeah, they are. I think maybe the most significant is the change at 9. Just lacking a little bit of direction in both half-back positions. I was watching Swiel there. It was almost he didn't know what his outside backs were doing. They were running opposite directions to him, and he was sort of following them rather than the other way around.
Big South African contingent. With, a big round of applause to Bismarck du Plessis, set for another extremely busy year. First job for Kyle Cooper is to find his man and to continue what's been an impeccable Sharks line-out so far. One a dozen now. This is Borters rolling on, picked up by McLeod, rumbling towards the line. Daysel, and then Adrianza as well, bouncing off tackles. It's as close as they've been. It's as dangerous as they've looked with the ball in hand. Daysel, what a drive that was. McLeod already, the intensity has been upped. It was Tyler Fisher who just couldn't get the ball away quickly enough.
Great read from Wiles. Knew he had to get man and ball. Didn't really matter whether he knocked the ball on, as long as he could stop that ball going through the hands.
He's snappy over the ball, Charles McLeod, isn't it? He's not putting anything on it himself. He doesn't have the breaking threat that Reinach maybe had, but he's given the ball to his big forwards early, and he's given them a good run up, and that's where they're getting the yardage from at the moment.
It's actually Steph Levis who of the swift offload. Noticeably quicker, noticeably sharper from Charles McLeod, who held down the scrum half jersey over the second half of the season.
From the start, guys, yeah. Timings, thank you.
Weather update, by the way. It started to rain. Saracens have brought on Petrus du Plessis on the far side to cover for the yellow-carded Matt Stevens. 7-man Sarries scrum. McLeod gets it away quickly. Undangani bursting through. Really is as likely as they've looked all match, and the impressive Daysel brushing off a challenge. How smart is Saracens' defence now? This is Cooper. McLeod there again.
No, knock on, leave it right.
Forward by Levis. Daysel. Botha with another big hit. Swiel staying on his feet. This is Borters. Tembu provides the bridge for McLeod. Here goes Lawrence Adrianza. Called himself a test player now, off the bench in Paris in November. And then the ball was spilt forward. And Bosch waits patiently for the ball to come. And even more patiently for the referee's whistle.
Tim, where two
Saracens will have the scrum. It's really interesting talking to Alex Sanderson yesterday about how beyond the third phase of possession, statistics tell coaches now that you become increasingly less likely to score tries. If you're going to score a try, something like 65% of tries are scored within the first 3 phases of possession. Beyond that, you're almost better off in that position just to kick it away, reset, and pressurise the other lot.
Particularly field position. It's something that Matt O'Connor used to always say at Leicester: don't force extra phases for the sake of having them. If there's nothing on, make the decision and clear and get good field position and get your kick chase right, which is something that Saracens do very well. Their kick chase is exceptional.
Alex was talking, Mike, about how much extra work you put in at that point for very little return.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting statistic, and what we talked about with Scott Johnson at Scotland is repeat sets. So if your line out starts on the halfway line and you're attacking ball, your next set you want to be further up the pitch. So whether that's an attacking kick and bundling someone into touch, or a contestable kick in the air and you're getting the ball back, you know, that's what coaches are looking for in those situations.
Confirmation of what you probably sense, that much of the significant action in this second half has taken place in Saracens 22. The most significant action so far has been poor old Oise in Vovo stretch it off 3 weeks before a new Super 15 season. As Adrian are just sorting out his grips. New arrival from the Cheetah, so the first time we've seen him in a shark shirt this afternoon. The tight head. Saracens are 6 minutes into Matt Stevens' sin binning, and they're handling it very well. And there's Richard Barrington, who this weekend 12 months ago was coming off the bench to play for Jersey in the Championship against Rotherham. Not so long ago he was propping against Tendai and Tamawera. He's had an afternoon to remember. And Richard Barrington. Much longer on his yellow card. There's exactly how much longer there is to go. 4 minutes.
Saracens shorten this to a 5-man. Berger ready as an option to hit the ball up in midfield. If they can deliver the ball off the top, they can't. Now he might chase a box.
I'm sure Morris Botha would have played today. Alistair Hargreaves, former Shark, had been fit, but he's certainly put himself around. He won that line out. A scrappy ball that ends up in the hands of Ernst Joubert. Ball went backwards. Saracens could reset, but they've lost possession, and it's been won by Mtembu, who's bursting through. Tera Mtembu setting this position up for the Sharks as they go in search of their first try of the match, and they've scored it through one of their better players of the match, Andre Esterhuizen, who's been a real pest all afternoon.
All about changing the tempo of the game. Mtembu first, huge carry. The turnover's made. Best time to attack just after you've turned over. The opposition defence not set. Mtembu goes himself. And then as they come around the corner, Saracens struggling to get their defensive line in place. It's a slippery ball. Esterhuizen decides, I'm not going to risk the pass out wide, I'm just going to put the brakes on, put the pressure on the Saracens cover defence to stop. They can't do it. They all slip over and he scampers in. Good finish for a player who's been outstanding tonight.
You saw in that ball carry that Jacques Berger was going to make there. Duncan Taylor had to come in from the outside centre position to help with the clear out. Turnover happened, and you know, lo and behold, they've got no numbers on the open side there. Really smart, tidy handling to finish that off.
Well, they've got what they deserve for all their second half effort. The conversion of this try from Tim Sweel, and it was all set up from Mtembu's burst. Did well to keep the ball alive, and McLeod very quickly ripping it back for the tall, athletic Esterhuizen, who has really put a marker down 3 weeks out from the start of the Super 15 season. Exactly what Jake White would have wanted him to do.
Wrong side to me, yes, please.
There's any question that if he's fit, Frans Steen would be their first choice. Inside centre, linking up with Pat Lambie. But he was talking to us before the match about needing options over the course of a long season. And Scott Britt's frustration getting the better of him. A consoling tap on the head from Borthwick. Just not really got going in this second half, Saracens.
Almost got too comfortable a lead without having to do too much. They probably weren't up to the intensity they needed to be going into half-time.
Two-thirds of the possession has belonged to the visitors. So the final 60 seconds of Stevens' sin minute. Just need to see what they do. They might choose to put Scott Sperling on instead and just leave Stevens out. It looks like he's been wrapped up for the night. He's been pushed back into the garage. Maybe Nick Orterak rather will be the man to come on.
I think the fact that so many of the line-outs are being driven by the Sharks shows how seriously they're taking this fixture. I think as a normal pre-season game, you're looking to play through your phases and try your new moves, but this shows that they want to win this game.
I don't know. I think the forwards probably have a big say here at the Sharks, and they want to get this right for the Super Rugby season.
Ball's in the hands of Jacques Bortas. He won't be giving it up easily. Looking for the soft bits in the defence of that maul from Saracens. It was Bortas who burst through.
Saracens backline defence screaming for support out wide, but they're fighting the fires here.
Off in search of a second try, which is scored by Williams. Oh, what a comeback from the Sharks. They are bossing this second half, and they're back within range. Heimer Williams.
Just shows, doesn't it, the importance for this team in particular of being on the front foot. And as soon as they get their big forwards rumbling on the front foot, you can see the Saracens defenders all having to step in slightly. Short's a bit narrower than he probably would have wanted to be. That gives the angle into the corner, and there's nothing he can do as he covers across.
Let's see what Swill can do against the teeth of the gale. No, just held up away to the left.
Sean McLeod again, really sharp in behind his forwards, pushing them on, and then the opportunity comes, he's right in behind them, and he gets the ball in and away. He's been impressive since he came on, also doing the stuff that the other guys don't want to do, charging down Wigglesworth's kick on the near side as well.
Hodgson, the restart. Saracens just have not had a grip in this second half. There's no question that the introduction of Charles McLeod at scrum half has really added some impetus to the Sharks' effort.
Absolutely, as Mike said, particularly when you've got a forward pack that are so lethal on the front foot and good ball carriers. They want the ball in their hands early, and we saw the difference when Bota made that big hit because of the delayed pass to what they're doing now. But this is a problem area for Saracens as well, the line out. Good field position, can't secure the ball, they get away with it, and they'll get a scrum put in.
Laurens Adrianza knocking the ball on. He's scrabbled around to control what is becoming an increasingly wet ball.
Thank you.
Stays and hoisted very high, putting the pressure on Joubert. And he's joined from the Cheetahs. Saracens just to draw breath here, and Charlie Hodgson may well decide to eye up some posts that are beginning to move around in the gale as we have another look at this, Ben.
Let's see, Saracens man managing to keep almost his body shape. Just making it easier for the referee to make a decision. Tough kick for Hodgson, but it shows how much Saracens want a victory. They're not prepared to kick it to the corner and build some of the strength of their driving maul early on in the game. They want this 8-point cushion.
Once again, he's got to try and gauge this strong crosswind, which is blowing from left to right as he looks at this. He draws it back in beautifully. Initially, it looked as if it was drifting away, but he kicks the points that puts Saracens a score clear again. A little bit more comfortable for the home team. Taken in by Short. He'll be heading back to Wasps at the end of this match, on loan until the end of the season at Adams Park.
It's from the back. Hands on.
Good clearance from Wigglesworth. Taken in by Williams. Did well as under a lot of pressure. McLeod is Adrianza. McLeod again. Sweel again, playing for Terrici, playing the game in Saracens 22.
Wise option. The conditions as they are, Saracens struggling at the line out. Real pressure. And now the Sharks are undoubtedly will want to put maximum pressure on at the front in the middle of the line out. Force Saracens to at least have to dink the ball up into the wind rather than a nice fast throw.
Lineout's been susceptible. That one was straight to the front though. The banker ball to both that, and Wigglesworth put absolutely everything into that, and he drilled the ball up to halfway.
They're so efficient at their exit strategies, aren't they? The 9, great ball up there, getting it near the halfway line. The previous kick he had, contestable ball, put real pressure on the tackle and the counter ruck there. Really efficient stuff from Saracens.
Touch judge flag. Really difficult for the hookers.
Wind has changed direction. It's now blowing down the pitch. It's blowing all over the place, let's be fair. Let's not try to be clever with the weather. It's just horrific. Oosthuizen, who went highest, came down awkwardly, but came down with the ball. Picked up one-handed by Desel. Borters skimming it along the ground. Hands on the ground.
So lost it for, then hands back.
Borters, who gets back up asking the question.
Just on the 15th.
Played against the British and Irish Lions in 2009. He was part of the emerging Springbok side that day. To look at it here, and there's the hand in question, spotted by Tim Wigglesworth. So the final 10 minutes has turned out to be a miserable old afternoon in London. Saracens still narrowly ahead as once again Oosthuizen tried to win back that ball acrobatically, held on to by Saracens. The ball was free. Once again, it was Oosthuizen who was down quickest as Taylor tried to recover the ball. Individually, we'll talk to Jake White afterwards, but individually he'd have seen plenty of promise in some of the performances from his blokes, Ben.
Yeah, some big performances. Desel, as we've said, has been good. Esther Hayes and the 2 locks, despite going to the bin. I think he'll be delighted with how Bismarck du Plessis led the team when he was on the field.
Sweel's come into the game a bit more as the game's gone on. He's got his hands on the ball a bit more. A couple of great touch finders, and he's obviously got a lot of confidence. He's got good footwork, and he's looking to challenge the line a bit.
That tackle count as well. telling us that Saracens have made twice as many, has been built largely in this second half. Sharks have really fought their way back into it.
Yeah, thank you. Perhaps you need to feet in your body. Crouch! Bind! Set! Early, far side.
Free kick for the early engagement. McLeod, and there was nowhere forward for Oosthuizen there. McLeod. Off the boot of...
Is that taken in? Is that taken in? Yes.
Fly half.
Is that taken into the 22? Yes.
It was thrown into the 22, so we will come all the way back. He's not done much wrong, but Oosthuizen will live to regret that.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Don't block.
It's just securing this ball, isn't it, at the front of the line out. Not going to be able to go any longer. Put Joubert, one of their best jumpers there.
Oosthuizen has been a menace in the line-out. More pressure on Joubert. McLeod, and the ball was dropped, and a swarm of Saracens will pounce upon them. And the least they will have to concede here is the attacking 5-metre scrum. There might be more. Ball that refuses to come to heel. Streppel picks it up, and we will come back for the knock-on. Into the final 5 minutes. Saracens protecting an 8-point lead. Took his eye off the ball, Oosthuizen. One error compounded by another. The kick directly into touch, the knock-on, and now they've got a defender, an attacking 5-metre Saracen scrum.
They'll look to hold this one in, Ben, wouldn't they? Penalty try, do you think?
I should think so. You can always tell on the hit whether you've got a team, whether you can feel a weakness somewhere. Back to Joubert's feet.
The ball's been lost, it wasn't controlled properly, and McLeod skips away with it. Taken on by Oosthuizen, who will be burning with a little bit of desire to get his mates out of the hole he rather put them in. McLeod delicately. Where's the bounce going? It goes beyond Brits. It was picked up by Wigglesworth, and this is short. Beyond Berger to Botha, who has just levelled walls today. Wigglesworth, contestable, comes down with the rain, picked up well by Sweel. Ball was actually lost forward.
Short did really well there because it arrived a bit too early to make the tackle, but he just tracked the man, didn't tackle him in the air.
Duncan Taylor muscling his way forward, Scottish international. He made his debut at Kings Park in June in that quadrangular tournament against Samoa. Botha again. He's been as prominent as anyone this afternoon. Wigglesworth and Taylor on the burst. The angle had been sus by Sharks' defence. What can Brits do? Hodgson. Taylor made for him, you would have thought. On the outside of his boot, but asking too much of Streppel. And Jaco van Tonder happy enough to find touch.
Neil de Kock will be sitting in his seat with a little smile on his face, won't he? Coming off at half-time, he was getting fast, you know, go forward ball the whole time. Not much wind, no rain. Richard Wigglesworth's come on, and it's, you know, his pack aren't helping him too much at the moment. It's raining. The wind's even changed to be in his face. You know, this is. You know, I feel for him as a scrum half.
Newcastle conditions this.
It's a summer's day.
Once again, it was Esthazen at the front of the lineup, who was up first. Undungani chasing this. Strettle had time to gather, but he's got Undungani in his face straight away. Presents the ball sharply, but Sharks have it back. Once again, it was Desel who snaffled it. McLeod, Levis shuffles it on. Wiles running across, and once again the ball's gone out on the full.
Yeah, Gareth.
Count in my head 3, perhaps 4 occasions where that's cost Sharks this afternoon. Now plenty of Saracens changes late on, 16, 17, 19 and 23. A Sperling, Ortarak, Jubb and Sam Stanley.
A big minute and 10 seconds for them.
I tell you what, it will be a big minute and 10 seconds for some of them.
Brits and Bosch and Botha and Richard Barrington as well. What an afternoon he's had. He's nearly played a full 80 minutes. It's like Berger's giving way as well. First job for Scott Sperling, the England under-20 hooker, is to find his man. Hodgson, Taylor, drifts away from McLeod, but make much ground to the final minute. Sharks threatened an unlikely comeback in that second half, but it's eventually been snuffed out by Saracens in the teeth of a gale. The ball actually landed behind the point from where Charlie Hodgson kicked it. Any Sharks players who think that regular trips up to the Northern Hemisphere in the pre-season is a good idea might be being washed away by this raid. Maybe we'll stay in Durban. Line out one by Steph Levis. Another for whom the Super Rugby debut might not be too far away. So a little glimpse of Jake White Sharks' future this afternoon. But it is going to be the leaders of the English Aviva Premiership, Saracens, who are going to win this match. McLeod, whose introduction made an impact. Jacques Bortas too.
She's looking to see out the game with their line speed, especially some of the new guys on the field. A little bit keen that time.
Young Tom Job caught offside. England under-20 lock. Nice little break forward, but that latest bit of sloppy handling will draw a conclusion to proceedings. Little slice of history. First ever match between the Premiership champions and the Currie Cup holders. Natal Sharks winning the Currie Cup in October. Their big brothers, the Sharks, coming up to London for a bit of a pre-season warm-up, ending up with a bit of a dousing from the rain. And a beating in the end from Saracens, but much more competitive in the second half than we were expecting it to be. The Sharks really dug in with those 2 tries from Esthazen and Hymar Williams, and in the end it needed Hodgson's penalty to give the Londoners some breathing space, and they've won it by 23 points to 15.
I think the Sharks will be really happy for a pre-season game, that the fact that their scores weren't really from terrible defensive mistakes. The scores against them, they were from little lapses in concentration and perhaps referee interpretations of whether the clock was on or not. So I think Jake White will be fairly happy with his charges, and certainly in the second half they competed physically and showed that they had the fitness to go into the Super Series.
Yeah, and remember there are a lot of young guys playing, especially in the back line. You know, this was their first run out, as you say, for 3 months, but for a lot of them it's their first run out in this this Shark side. So, you know, enough positive things to work on.
What of Saracens? It was a tough fixture for them in the middle of a season when they've got bigger things to go for. They look pretty much nailed on for the playoffs. They're not far away from securing a home semi-final in the Premiership. They're through to the quarter-finals of the Heineken Cup. This was a very, very tough question for them to answer today.
Yeah, they didn't look quite like they had that edge there. And as I said in commentary, I think probably they almost went into half-time with too big a lead for how hard they'd had to work for those points. And very difficult to get that motivation when you've come off the back of Heineken Cup and Premiership performances. Despite the excitement of playing in this, very difficult.
Let's get some reaction. Martin, who have you got?
Well, we've got a very windswept Steve Borthwick and Charles Brits. Steve, great performance. How do you put that into the pattern of the season? An important game for you?
Yeah, it's important. It's very important. I think the guys fronted up today did really, really well. Limited preparation, depleted squad. I thought the guys did great.
Now, we know there are a lot of South African guys in the Saracens team. Scott, you're one of those guys. There seemed to be a bit of spice in your game today.
I don't know what you're talking about. We've only got 1 or 2 surfers in the side. No, in seriousness, it was a great game. It was, testing the North against the South, so we represent the North, and it was a great game. It's a great occasion, and I'm glad we represented Saracens quite well.
You certainly did that. A lot of people would have been watching. Steve, you would have played in games where it's a pre-season preparation, it's a warm-up game. Tough for the Sharks to come here in this weather to play against such a strong side. But they put in a big shift in the second half, didn't they?
They certainly did. What was really interesting today was we played into the wind in the first half, and it changed around at half-time. We played into the wind in the second half. So I think we had some tough conditions to play in today, and I thought the guys did really well. Credit the Sharks, a very good team, bringing 8 Springboks and starting them. So we knew it was going to be tough. And as I say, very proud of the guys' effort today.
Well, it's a great performance. Scott, I'll just ask you quickly, would you like to play more games like that?
Hopefully not in season. But at my age, the body takes a bit of a beating. But it was a great occasion, and hopefully we can do it yearly.
Well, it's been a great day. I'd like to welcome Craig Massey from Sanlam to make the presentation. Craig, thank you very much indeed. If you present Steve with the Sanlam Private Investment Shield.
Cheers, Steve. Well done, thank you. Great game. Thought you guys were going to have a tough game up front, but you were too good for them. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Charlie, not probably the conditions you wanted to play in, and how difficult was it out there?
It was hard. We obviously played into the wind in the first half, came out at half time, and the wind was going in the opposite direction. We're back into it again, and yeah, it was hard work. The rain didn't help it either, but yeah, obviously delighted to get the win.
And a poacher's try for you. Did you at any point think you might not have the legs to get there?
No, I back myself all day now. I don't know. I seem to have a bit of space, so I think thankfully I managed to get away from him.
And what will you guys have learned playing against Southern Hemisphere opposition today?
Just how physical the South Africans. I think we already knew how physical the South African guys are, and that it was no different today. I think just running around the corner, big man after big man after big man. It was tough, but I mean the guys showed today how good defensively they can be. Mo Botha with some massive hits and Jack Berg with massive hits, so it was brilliant.
And motivation-wise, before the game, was it any different to playing in the Heineken Cup, or was it less nervous, perhaps?
I think we're probably more nervous. I think it was going into the unexpected, not really knowing what to expect. And I think for the South Africans that are here at the club, I think it meant a lot more to them than we probably give them credit. But I think for them to get a victory today was probably quite important.
Brilliant, Charlie. Great performance. I'm going to go wander over here and have a chat with the coach, Mark McCall. Mark, how happy were you with that performance?
Really happy. There's elements of our game which were outstanding today. Our scrum against the Springbok front row. You've got Richard Barrington, who's come from Jersey this time last year, playing over there in the championship, and did a phenomenal job today against Yanni Duplessis. And it got difficult in the second half. We didn't play our best. The second half we lost a few line-outs, but I thought the fight that we showed and the physicality that we showed says everything about the group, really.
And is it being a bit of an experiment? Isn't it an experiment you'd like to repeat, playing Southern Hemisphere opposition again?
Probably. It's one of those ones, after 9 hard weeks, 4 Heineken Cup matches, 5 Premiership games, there's a lot of people who needed a rest this week, and in fairness to them, they were brilliant today. They'll rest next week, though. And you hear the change room, it's created a bit of a buzz. We've got a game tomorrow. It's all hands on deck tomorrow again against Newcastle, and hopefully we can keep this momentum going.
Mark, that's brilliant. Thanks very much. Congratulations today.
Yes, we've been speculating what Jake would have thought of that performance. We can find out. What have you been saying to the boys?
Oh, look, Nick, I think, I suppose the message is quite clear. I mean, we should have expected that. I mean, I think we'd be naive to think that Saracens have been a dominant team, quarterfinals of Heineken Cup, LV Cup tomorrow, and haven't lost, in top of the Premiership. they've got a quality squad. They've got some settled coaches, and as you know, they're in the middle of a season. So to go on holiday for the whole of December, come back, have a 2-week sort of pre-season I wouldn't say camp, but 2-week preparation would be naive of us to think we can come here and actually roll them over.
Gary Gold making the point that you were working off much better front football in the second half. What did you put that down to?
I think what happened is Busy just laid it into them in this, in the halftime speech and just said, listen, we need to change our attitude. I think, we probably, as you know, gave 2 soft tries away. One from a tap penalty and one on the hooter with an intercept. So we probably didn't do ourselves any favours. But saying that, I mean, there's a lot of things to be positive about. We carried the ball well. I thought our set piece at line-out wasn't bad. Our scrum, struggled a bit. But I must say it's a very different surface to scrum on. And the players were saying in the change room now that...
Yeah, quick word on the pitch, Jake, sorry.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I must say the players enjoyed it as well. I think that one of the things back home when you watch it in South Africa, you think it's like an Astro pitch like hockey where it's quite hard. But when you walk it and you see the players, diving on it and tackling on it, you realise it's actually not as hard as what it looks on the TV. But as I said, I suppose it's better getting used to the ball. You think the ball's going to bounce when it, obviously like a tennis ball when it hits the ground, and it doesn't. So, I think, no excuses, but it's fantastic surface to play on.
It's been great to see you up here. Don't leave it so long next time. And we wish you all the best in the Super 15 in 3 weeks' time. Thank you again.
No, thank you, Nick. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Jake.
Thank you.